So how does the Federal Reserve actually create and control all of our currency? And back in the day, what did our forefathers and other leaders actually think about central banking back when it was created here in the United States? Okay, we're going to talk about that in today's training. Hey everyone, it's Mike Adams, and on this channel we empower individuals to achieve freedom through improved financial literacy and business ownership. If you are new to this channel, make sure to click subscribe and click the bell so that way you get notified on any and all of our future training. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing how the Federal Reserve creates and controls all of our currency. And we're also going to break down, okay, because nowadays people don't really know a lot about central banking. And that's why we made this video in this video series. But back in the day, okay, with the forefathers of our country, they knew about central banking. What did they actually think about it? And did they have a favorable view of a central bank that actually controlled all the currency of a nation? And the answer to this might actually shock you. And when you see and learn a little bit more about some of the folks that have actually spoken out against central banking and what happened to them, I think it'll definitely shock you. Let's dive right into the training. So how does the Federal Reserve control our currency supply? Well, they control it by adjusting the overall currency supply, or the amount of currency that's in circulation, and also by determining how much it costs to borrow. And this is referred to adjusting interest rates. You see, with these tools, the Federal Reserve can create booms or busts at will and possibly derail an economy by messing with it. You see, when interest rates are high, borrowing money is more expensive. And because of that, less people are going to want to borrow money and create those bank credits. When rates are low, that means it's cheaper to borrow money. And this is what's going to put more money into the system and actually can stimulate an economy. However, every single US dollar that's created or bank credit that is created must be paid back either to the Federal Reserve or to a commercial bank with interest. You see, in the year 2000, Alan Greenspan cut interest rates to 1% to offset the dot-com bust of 2000. You see, he wanted to create a bit of a wealth effect. People were feeling the damaging effects of the dot-com bubble. They were afraid to borrow money. So by reducing interest rates, he wanted people to feel that they could go out there and loan more money. Property values, everything was kind of going up. And he definitely created a wealth effect because people kept borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and eventually they borrowed too much. And this is what led to the mortgage crisis of 2008, where people over-borrowed. And by the time those adjustable rates came due, people were not able to service their own debt anymore because of all the interest. Now, of course, we cannot ignore the corrupt bankers that took part in the 2008 mortgage crisis, but it was the Federal Reserve who set the stage for these bankers to take advantage of this easy money. Whoopsie daisy. So how does our banking and monetary system work? And who actually controls our banking and monetary system? It is the central bank that controls our economy, and it's the central bank and the commercial banks that create and control all of our currency. So when people actually knew what a central bank was, what did people think of them? Thomas Jefferson once said, "If the American people allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all of their property until the children will wake up homeless." And to go all the way back to Big Ben Franklin, the colonies would have gladly borne a little tax on tea and other matters had it not been that England took away from the colonies their money, which created unemployment and dissatisfaction. The inability of the colonists to get power to issue their own money permanently out of the hands of King George III and the international bankers was the prime reason for the Revolutionary War. And most people, you hear about the old Boston Tea Party and you think, hey, we went to war because we didn't want to pay them taxes. We went to war because the colonists wanted to be able to issue and create their own currency, and were sick and tired of the currency system that they dealt with over in England that was perpetrated by the Bank of England itself. Andrew Jackson once said about the second central bank, so the central bank that preceded the Federal Reserve, The bold effort the present central bank has made to control the government are but premonitions of the fate that await the American people should they be deluded into a perpetuation of this institution or the establishment of another like it. People back in the day understood that central banks and the central banking system was a system that was again built back in the 1600s. It was meant to enrich very, very few at the expense of the many. Now, to be clear, central banks aren't inherently bad. They just need to be part of the government, as the government shouldn't have to pay interest on its own currency. Again, guys, it's this interest that our own government has to pay to have a currency system that is the reason that all of us have to pay interest and all of us have to pay income taxes. And it's because of this interest that our government will always be in debt. And you, your kids, and your grandkids will be forced to pay taxes to service the interest on this debt to the Federal Reserve. Now, over time, we've had a few presidents speak out about central banking. Quote, "Whoever controls the volume of money in any country is absolute master of all industry and commerce." James Garfield. President Abraham Lincoln once said, "The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credits needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of consumers. By the adoption of these principles, the taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest. Money will cease to be the master and become the servant of humanity." And President Lincoln actually did issue his own currency called the greenback. And of course, we know what happened to President Lincoln. Quote, "There's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high, noble office, I intend to expose this plot," John F. Kennedy said 7 days before his assassination. So if you've watched this video all the way through, congratulations. You are one of the informed few that knows about this evil debt-based monetary system. And you understand that the Federal Reserve is not a federal entity, it is a private bank. And private bank with shareholders that is doing everything possible to show their shareholders a profit and return them that 6% dividend. You see, most people are completely unaware of this system, even though we live inside of it every single day. In closing, I'll leave you with this. Quote, "Banking was conceived in inequity and born in sin. Bankers own the earth. Take it away from them, but leave them the power to create money, and with the flick of a pen, they will create enough money to buy it back again. Take this great power away from them, and all the great fortunes like mine will disappear like they ought to disappear. For then this would be a better and happier world to live in. But if you want to continue to be a slave of the bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, then let bankers continue to create money and control credit." So what can you do about it? And how can you start fighting back against this system right now? Well, number one is I encourage you to do more research on this subject. It's so vital to understand how central banking works and how this Federal Reserve system and process impacts you and your life. Number two, review this video again until you can teach these concepts to others. Please share this video with your friends and family so they can become aware of this system, so they can make more informed decisions as we enter these troubling economic times. With enough awareness around this debt-based monetary system, we may finally be able to create a better system, one that actually benefits the people of a nation instead of the owners of the central and commercial banks. Thank you for watching.